At Riverside Speedway and Adventure Park, you don't have to be a professional racer to enjoy the thrills of motorsports. We host a bunch of different racing events here in Groveton, New Hampshire. You can compete for real prize money and get help from skilled pit crews that also provide pre-race safety checks. We're dedicated to providing a racing experience that's safe, fun, and exciting for fans and racers alike. Come join the world of competitive motorsports at Riverside Speedway and Adventure Park.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Ken Minded. I'm the president of the Maine Vintage Race Car Association, and on behalf of MVRCA and Lincoln County TV, it's our pleasure to present the next edition of the Vintage Racers Roundtable. We want to thank our participating sponsor as well. It's a show where we pull together some of the characters of Maine motorsports, share some stories, and take a look at the rearview mirror of their legendary careers, and in some cases in the windshield as well. As we get started, we have a few people we want to thank. First of all, I want to thank Steve Perry for allowing us once again to be part of this Northeast Motorsports Expo. As always, I want to thank Larry Seidlinger and our partners from Lincoln County TV. We'd like to thank our special thanks to our presenting sponsor today, Riverside Speedway and Adventure Park out of Groveton, New Hampshire. Their booth is located out here on the main floor in the middle aisle, so be sure and stop by and visit them and thank them for supporting this program. And finally, we want to thank you guys here in the audience for joining us, and you're welcome to participate in today's show by asking questions. You just raise your hand and we'll get to you as soon as we can. We're here today with episode 29 of the Roundtable. Today we set aside the word vintage for today. Most of our shows are looking back at some of the old timers that have raced. Today we're getting in with some of the guys who are the top names in racing today. We have Ben Rowe, we have Joey Dwyron, and we have Garrett Hall sitting at the table. And to help us on this side, as I said, unfortunately, our co-host Pete Silva couldn't make it here today, so have a couple of gentlemen here that have stepped in to help us out today. Both members of the In the Pits radio program and podcast, and they both have their own personal connections to racing. We have a former past modified champion here. We have the race director of the ACT Tour here. So I want to introduce Spencer Morse and Scott Tapley to take it over from here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ken. Pleasure to be here today. Like you said, we've got three great current drivers in the sport. We'll start off left to right to introduce everybody. We've got the 2014 Beech Ridge Sports Series champion, 7 pass wins, a bunch of NASCAR weekly wins, won a couple times on the Granite State Pro Stock Tour, and most recently, he is the 2025 Celebration of America 300 champion. That's Garrett Hall. Next we have, there we go. Then in the center there we have Joey Dwyron from Berwick, Maine. 20 pass wins. He's the 2015 past national champion, a 2-time champion on the Granite State Pro Stock Series, and tied for second most wins in Granite State Pro Stock Series. Also has won a Celebration of America 300 in 2024. Also won the past 400 in 24 and is the 2025 Memorial Day Clash champion as well, Joey Dwyron. And then I don't have enough air in my lungs to get through this one all. This is closest to us, 53 past wins, the most all time, 10 past championships, 4 North, 5 National, 1 South, the 2021 Milton Cat American Canadian Tour champion. He's got an International Pro Stock Series championship, a Northeast Pro Stock Series championship, a 1995 late model championship at Oxford Plains Speedway, and a 1992 compact championship as well on the road course. That ranks right up there with his 250 wins, a Coastal 200, and everything else he's done. Guy really needs no introduction, Ben Rowe from Turner, Maine. So, Ben, what they normally do is they start with the eldest driver on the panel. And seeing as how you were winning championships before Garrett was born, I think you're probably the start of this. Obviously, everybody that's in this room, everybody that's watching it knows anything about Maine racing, knows Mike Rowe's your dad, right?
Yeah.
When did you decide that you were going to be a race car driver?
When I was 15, he brought a race car home. I had no clue that I was even going to race. I just went to races watching him. And then he brings a little mini stock home for me one day, and I wasn't even old enough to drive it, actually. Patrick Donahue drove it for me for the first few weeks of the year until I turned 16, because you had to be 16 to race. Then when I turned 16, I just started driving it and haven't stopped.
So back in those days, you weren't even on the big track with the compact at that time, right? You were running the road course deal?
Through the little chicane. And
so your first year must have been, so you won the championship and must have been your first full season?
Yeah, 91 was my first year racing.
Yeah, and it's just success right out the gate. You knew that you were going to go on to be one of the greatest of all time? Or?
No, actually, I struggled bad in 91, and then we bought the championship car in 92 from Mike Kimball. And then my dad worked on it, and you know how he is with stuff. So we were successful that year in 92, and then won the championship, and then just moved up, moved to Charger division in 93, and just kept going.
So the Charger deal, you must have only been there for, what, two seasons
years,
before they got rid of it, right? But
Yeah.
you had a fair amount of success right off the bat in that as well, right?
Yeah, we won some races in 94 is when they got rid of it. We won the last six-cylinder Charger race, and then I won the very first late model race at Oxford the following year in 95. So.
And then you became the champion in the late models right out the gate as well. And then it wasn't long, and you were in the Pro Stocks
the next year,
right?
96 is when I went Pro Stock racing. Yeah.
And you know, one of the first things that I wanted to ask, something that it's kind of legendary around my household, is that your first 250 was this close to working out.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that race.
That was 96. I was a rookie in the Pro Stocks and never even finished in the top 10 on a Saturday night race. So we switched cars before the Oxford 250, and I wasn't even supposed to be in it. You know, I made the race, and we're just happy to finish. Well, we ended up taking the lead and led 174 laps, and coming to 3 to go, we ran out of gas. It was 50 grand. My dad owned the car, so he was more heartbroken than I was. But in that, just ever since then, it just what could have been. You know what I mean? I wasn't even supposed to be able to in that race, let alone win it. And I was passing Stan Meserve, I think, for the lead, and just blowing my mind. You know what I mean? Just seeing the guys that I grew up watching that I was able to race around. It was pretty neat.
And then from that point on, it must have pretty much been like,
yeah,
I can do this.
Right, 97 and 98, I tried Busch North racing for a few years and didn't really care for it. The politics, all the stuff you had to do with that, I didn't really care about it. So I come back into Pro Stock racing, and that's when I got hooked up with Tom Estes and put just this great crew together. Like, looking back at it now, we really didn't know how good those guys were. Just a bunch of guys that we didn't even pay to work, you know, just Saturday night guys, and we won a lot of races with those guys. Bill Hill was one of them that does tires for Jack now. Just a bunch of good guys having a good time, and we were pretty successful.
So now that we get you up into the time where you're going to start winning Oxford 250s and all that, I think this is about the time that Joey DeWiron starts getting going. Are you you started off in go-karts, right?
Yeah. So my parents own a machine shop, and there was a guy in town, local. His kids raced at Beach Ridge in the go-karts, and he kept telling my dad, "Hey, like, bring him up to watch it, and like just come and check it out." And my dad kept putting it off, and finally we finally went up, watched, and we got to take a go-kart out, and then I was hooked ever since. So I didn't come from a racing family. Nobody in my family raced, and we did the go-kart thing at Beach Ridge for, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years. And then my grandfather got sick, so we kind of stepped away for a little bit and came back to Beach Ridge to run the sports series. And I mean, I was happy doing that. So everything else after that was a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, you did a little stint on the American Canadian Tour, I think, after that, right? And
yeah, so we did the sports series at Beach Ridge for 1 year, and then we bought a ACT late model from Dale Shaw and did that for 2 years. And it's definitely the first probably 7 years of late model racing was pretty tough. my parents, they did everything they could for me, but I mean, we're not wealthy. There was no full-time help. We didn't know nothing about car racing, so a lot of trial and error and hard work. And my dad's one of the type of people, you don't ever give up, so he kind of just kept telling me, just keep plugging away, learn as much as we can, and if it works out, it works out. And fortunate enough, 4 or 5 years later, it's all started to click, and from there on, just keep building your notebook, knowledge-wise and racecraft-wise, and that's where it kind of got us to today.
Yeah. I love it. Garrett, I think your dad raced as well. Dennis, he was a champion and actually ended up with his old Limited Sportsman back in the day. Best car ever built, in my opinion. When did you realize that you wanted to be a race car driver, and kind of how did you get started?
Probably just ever since growing up half a mile down the racetrack, always being around motors, I was a motorhead growing up, snowmobiles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers. Always just wanted to race everybody in anything, whether it was pedal bike or scooter or anything, So competitive-wise, just kind of always wanted to be a race car driver. And when my dad said, no, you can't do that, go-karts, nope. I said, all right, well, I want to race dirt bikes. I had a dirt bike, can't race that. So finally, at the end of the day, I just, kept poking the bear, and finally the opportunity arose when I was 15, and he, helped me out and got a pretty good car from Craig and Trent Smith, and started racing the Mad Bomber division Thursday nights at Beach Ridge. Yeah,
you ended up winning some races with that kind of pretty quick off, right? I mean, you had some pretty decent success.
Yeah, I think the first race there, remember it like it was yesterday, just so nervous. But I ended up finishing 5th that first race, I think, out of like 30-something cars, And back then, that was a pretty stoked field in that division. So.
Yeah. And then it feels like you kind of had a quick. So about what year was that you were running Mad Bomber stuff? 2010, 2011?
2010.
So by the time, you're 3 years later, you're in a sports series car and competing for championships, right? I have listed here that you were Driver of the Year in 2013 in a sports series car at Beach Ridge, and nominated for Driver of the Decade. So that's a pretty quick from not racing anything to all of a sudden being the guy in the sports series.
Yeah, luckily, the sports series thing really took off, and that was really a huge amount of fun that we all had with the team and my family. So a lot of it just goes around with having the right people around you. Success comes when everybody's having fun and everybody wants to be there.
And something that I just got it while I've got you here with this. So you win the championship in 2014 in the sports series. You sell that, and then you decide you're going pro series racing at Beach Ridge.
Yeah. So originally, it would have been kind of cool, because if I had won it in 2013, it would have been 20 years after my dad had won it. So it would have been kind of cool in that aspect. But 2014, we stuck with it and won the championship that year. And then we had originally kept that car and had Craig Smith drive it for us. And then we had bought a pro stock and had gone through that and raced for the championship with that against Reed Lanfer, and things just didn't work out. But if it did, then my dad would have had a sports series and a pro stock that won the championship at Beach Ridge in the same year, which would have been kind of cool. So.
And I guess that's what's wild to me is in today's day and age, you heard Joey talk about it. It taken him a little bit to get going. Even Ben had talked about his first year in a pro stock was a little bit of a struggle for him. You basically come right out of the gates, first time in a pro stock, and it right down to the wire with Reed for the championship. I just thought that was remarkable.
Yeah, it was definitely a battle for it. I think like the second race at Beach Ridge in the championship, I was racing against Nick Cusack, and anybody else in that car would have won, but I ended up finishing second. But just to look back at that, and be very fortunate to have such quick success, I was really blessed by it.
It's because you weren't allowed to pass him?
I think it was just because, in the nerves, a lot of times you don't find success that early, and was looking kind of set my sights, at the end of the year, so I didn't want to start off the year with a bad outcome. you
Yeah,
know?
no, fair enough. One of the questions I wanted to ask you about racing with Reed, and I think it's one of the things that I think still stands out from that era of Beech Ridge, is the night when you were racing him for the championship, and they let you use their backup car on championship night. How did that all go together? And when they let you borrow that car, do you feel like you can't beat him now? Like you have to finish behind him? Or is it, did they tell you, go for it and give it all you got?
I mean, I think they probably kind of knew what it was and what they were giving
Right.
me. Can't thank them enough for giving me the opportunity. I feel like looking back at it now, obviously, probably should have gone a different route. Whether it was changing out the rear ends or whatnot. But either way, it was really fun season racing against him. So I don't know. I feel like potentially could have won the championship that year if changed the rear end over instead of taking his car. But
So the rear end broke, that's what made,
yeah, it was the weekend before. Weekend before we were in the 250, and Trevor Sanborn, I think, spun me out or something. I can't remember, but it broke my rear end tube, and we didn't notice that it was cracked because the tube was powder coated, and it was cracked right around the trailing arm bracket. And the worst part about it too is in practice. I think it was the second practice, and you're out there and you're going, and you know when the car is good. And I was like, yeah, this thing's fire. And then 2 laps later, trying to keep it out of the backstretch wall.
so did you enter that race as the points leader, or were you second in points?
I can't remember. I think it was.
But it was super close.
It was like
Yeah.
It was one of the best Pro Series battles, I feel like, at the time. Definitely a good one. Let's move back to Joey, because I think he has maybe a couple of almost coulda, shoulda been a champion stories as well. I feel like with the family team, with the 73 your car, we kind of left it off after 7 years of late model racing. It really felt like you were on the pass tour when things really started coming together. Or at least that's the first time that I noticed you, probably in the early 2010s.
Yeah, so 2010 we started racing fast full time, and it was like jumping into the deep end, and we knew nothing. We had my mom, my dad, me, Donnie, Charlene, Dalton. That was our crew, and we were going to tracks I'd never been to, racing people that I really probably had no business racing against. And it was weird. Like once a year we would finish third or fourth, but we just could never consistently put the runs together. And then in 2013, we started the year off. I think we won in Florida, and then we started the year off, I think, with like 3 or 4 seconds to start the year. And we were just really rolling. We couldn't win, but we just kept piling finishes on, and like to win a championship, that's what you need to do. And that was the first time we had been successful in doing that. And then came to the end of the year, and I think we went into Oxford, me, Cassius, and DJ were within like 3 points of each other. And at one point, I think we were 3 wide for the lead. But just the last 40 laps, it didn't work out. I think I finished 4th. Cassius was 3rd, and I think he won by 1 point or 2 points.
Was that the year with the muscle car body?
Yeah. So I probably really wouldn't even been that close going into Oxford if I hadn't have gotten my free body.
I remember standing in the infield there, and it felt like, because it was 300 weekend, right? Was where you debuted that thing?
Yeah, and I mean...
Or 400 weekend.
Yeah, so like at that time at Beech Ridge, like, I mean, if we weren't the car to beat at Beech Ridge, we were a top 3 car every time. And I think we went 3 laps down, so, nothing changed, just the body. But, I mean, you live and learn, and it obviously wasn't meant to be, so just move on and try again.
So, obviously, it jumped around here a little bit. I think we left you off, what are we, about the year 2000 now is where we're talking?
Sure.
So, you're running the 00 at that point? Or,
Yep. Yes.
And then that's when the Oxford 250s really well. I guess we should probably talk about, like, you won like 3 championships in 1 year here, right? The year 2000, International Pro Stock Series champion, NEPSA champion. This is all basically before Pass had started out, right?
Yeah, that was the kind of the tour that Tom started when he started his tour. But yeah, like I said, I went bush racing for a couple of years, and I learned way more running 2 years with bush guys against Joe and Brad Layton and these guys that I had no business racing against. But I learned how to race. It's not like today where you just go out, run over everybody, and go to the front. You had to race. And if you didn't, they come down and told you so. So I learned more in those 2 years, and then like I said, I just kind of fizzled out of that deal and went back pro stock racing. Well, I was way ahead of my time. And then putting a good team together with a good car, and we just won a lot of races. I feel running those 2 years of bush, I learned way more. Because when I come back, we were dominant. I mean, we won a lot of races in a short period of time with Estes.
Yeah, because I mean, so you had those years. Then I guess Pass would have started the next season.
Yeah.
Obviously, you ran every Pass race for 20 years or so. I think, but then the Oxford 250s start coming off too, and I guess that's one of the things. Like, out of all the things that you've done, is the Oxford 250 the greatest accomplishment?
By far.
Okay.
Yeah. It was in '84. I was sitting in the grandstands watching my dad win it for the first time. No main drivers ever won it. Nobody's supposed to win it. So that was kind of the one that I wanted to win. And to finally win it and then go back to back, it was pretty neat. I wouldn't trade any other race, any championship for an Oxford 250. I'd like to win Thunder Road. I never won there, but besides that, the 250 is one we all want to win. When I won that race, people down south even knew that I won that race. You go down south and race, and they'd always say, "Oh, you won the 250." They all looked at that one race as one of the biggest in the country.
Did losing it the way you lost it the first time make it mean more?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I wasn't really supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But losing it, I remember I still finished like 7th and made a lot of money, a lot of money. But just parking on my pad and just losing it, crying for 20 minutes before I even got out of the car. It wasn't the money, it was the Oxford 250 was that close. And you never know when you're going to get that opportunity again, We've been back every year since. We went back to back and been close, but everything has to go your way, all the way up through. I mean, this guy right here has been the quickest car every year there. Everything has to go your way and all day long, And like I said, I'm old enough now. Garrett used to come with me down south races, helping me. We'd pick him up on the way at Scarborough, pick him up and go down. Yeah, Eeyore is what I call him, just because he mopes around all the time. That's just how he is. Anybody that knows him, he just kind of doop-de-doo. So we kind of come up with that name. And then fast forward, 6, 7 years, and I'm on top of him at Beech Ridge going for the win. You know what I mean? So it's to see where he's come from. It's pretty neat. I'm old enough now to see this stuff, and I've said for the last 5 years that this guy's. Joey's probably the smartest guy in the garage area, setup-wise, making sure everything is right on. Him and his dad don't get nearly enough credit in this racing world as they should, because anytime he's at a racetrack, he can win a race, To go where he started and to where he is now, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess that's the cool thing. I had grabbed a little information from Taps over there on the Eeyore and some of the stuff from down south. Yeah, and that's what's cool is like all 3 of you guys have been in the hunt here for you either won big races at Oxford this year, or you were just this close at 400 weekend too, and also have done so much kind of throughout your career. So give us a little bit of a run through of, I mean, when do you start driving for Richard Moody? When's that start?
I think it was 04. Estes come to me over the winter, and he only wanted to cut back and run 6 or 8 races. And I was at the age where I was winning a lot. I was having a great time, And I wanted to do more tour racing. I wanted to go south. I wanted to run at some of those tracks down south. So I talked to Richard over the winter, and he was all for it. He was going to build a team. We put a team together. We had nothing. rented a shop, put all the tools, race cars, bought a hauler, and then we toured from '04 all the way up until a few years ago. I mean, we went from Florida to Maine, all over the place. I mean, you went with us.
Yeah.
You know, we brought anybody that would help us, we'd go, and it was a blast. You know, we had a hell of a time, but it was, you know, racing at tracks like Greenville, Pickens, and North Wilkesboro and Hickory is pretty neat. Now I'm old enough to look back at it and say, man, I've raced there, I've won there. It's a pretty neat thing to say.
Out of all those tracks that you went to, it feels like every time I'd go to Hickory, it was one that I had circled on the racetrack that then should run well there. What's your favorite track out of those ones down south?
I would say probably Greenville.
Yeah.
I like Greenville Pickens a lot. It's fast, flat, more like Oxford, I think, is kind of why we adapted to it. And Joey went down there and waxed us all, I think, the first time he was there. So it kind of you know, adapted more from what we were used to. But I like Kenley, the high bank, fast tracks. That's more what you see down south. So that was kind of more my style. The faster, the better, the on the throttle time, and more speed was up my alley.
So Joey, talk a little bit about by the time that you're down there doing that must be getting to your past national championship, right? That year in 2015, you did a little bit of stuff down south as well.
Yeah, so like with our family car, we used to go to 2 before the start of the year up here, and then we'd go to whatever they won at the end of the year. And it was always neat to go down there. I mean, if we were out of our league up here racing past, like going down there, it was like tenfold. So when the first time I went to Greenville Pickens, like I fell in love with it. Like it was like, if I could dream of a racetrack, that was that. It was all about managing your car, managing your race, and that's the type of racing I enjoy the most. Like the more off throttle time, the more managing you have to do, the better I feel like I am behind the wheel, and I feel like I can put myself in a better position by the end of the race to capitalize on other cars that, you know, probably are faster than me and probably better drivers straight up. But if you have more tire left than them at the end, it's a lot easier to pass them. So that track just, I felt like, played right into my hands. And the first time we went there, I think we were almost a lap down, and the yellow never came out, and I made the pass on the last lap coming to the start-finish line. So it was neat, and then we went back into the following.
Then you crashed, though. You left that part
Yeah.
Funny how that happens.
We'll just not. That's in the past. He's racing Cup now, so he obviously made out all right. But we went back the next year in February, and we had a clutch problem right at the start, and we lost 3 laps, and it was like the total opposite race. I just went as hard as I could the whole time, and we still won. So it was like 2 totally different ways about doing it with the same result, and it's a shame that they no longer race there. I'd love to go back again, but
You've got Lee, same thing, right?
no, it's just, you don't get the, I mean, it's the same type of racing, but something about that track, like with the inside wall, and it was all about, you know, managing your car position on corner entry. You wanted to hit the wall, but not to slow you down, and
Right.
it was hard to explain, but it's definitely probably my favorite track.
So after you, it kind of feels like your career, you were the guy, right? One of the guys that was racing and on the Pastor, you were in contention to win every single week. And then it's kind of, from a past guy, it's kind of like you disappeared for a couple of years, and you went off and kind of did some Granite State racing and stuff. Tell us a little bit about that time.
Yeah, I had a family, so that definitely, you can't race 15 times a year, 15, 20 times a year with a newborn. At least I couldn't. And still work on the car, having to do all the work on the car with just me and my dad. I wasn't going to take away watching my first child be first year of life. So we did the Granite State thing. It was just, they had eight or 9 races, I think, and they were pretty spread out, and all the races were within 2 hours of my house. And it worked at that time. We still came back and ran the 250 and the big races, but it was something I needed to do at that time of my life, and it worked out. And it was never, we didn't go there to not race pass or vice versa. It was just sometimes I had to make a choice, and if I wanted to race full time somewheres, I couldn't do it and race 18 times.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So then, as you kind of get towards the end of you doing your own thing on the Granite State Tour full time, then you kind of have some opportunities that start opening up for you, where you find yourself behind the wheel for somebody else, right?
Yeah. So I mean, once my family started to grow, I realized I couldn't keep putting all this on my parents. They were spending a lot of money, and I had some opportunities that came up between Wright Pearson and Greg Curtis over at Oxford. Greg Curtis had a car, and Travis Benjamin was the one that actually put that together. Greg was looking, they had gone through 3 or 4 drivers, and they didn't have any success with that car over there. And Greg was spending all the money and had all the equipment, but something wasn't gelling. So he offered me, he wanted to race just weekly shows at Oxford, and 50 laps does not fit my driving. So we did a couple of those, and then I told him, I said, well, let's just go run one of the past races at Oxford. And I think we ended up finishing like 8th, which, I mean, for him, like, I don't think his car had ever finished in the top 10 even in a weekly show. So he was ecstatic, and for the next 3 years, I mean, after the first half a season with that car at Oxford, I felt like there was nobody more consistent at Oxford than that thing. It just always seemed to be there was one guy. It was never the same guy, but there was one car that was always better. But whether it was Cassius one time or Curtis or Farrington, it's just there was never the same guy, but we were always the second, third place. And then, I mean, we won 3 or 4 races, but still not the one that mattered.
That was the 21 car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a distance car?
Yep. Yeah, so that was a distance car, and he built it new in 2019 or 2020. And he only wanted to race Oxford, and like, I mean, I love Oxford, don't get me wrong, but it's just an hour and 30 minutes from my house. So it's not something I want to do every week. So Wright Pearson had a Dale Shaw car, brand new one, built, and Brandon Barker was driving for him, and they kind of went separate ways, and I ran that a few times. We won a couple of races with that, past races with that, and he ended up selling the car to Garrett, and went back into my own car.
So that's the thing. I kind of feel like you didn't have any kids, right, Garrett, that we know of?
No.
Okay. All right. Just double checking. But it kind of feels like you also came out of the gate strong, right? Your first year, you're winning races, and you're running up front and pass races and all these things. But it kind of felt like maybe you had a couple of years in the middle there that things didn't go quite exactly how you wanted it. And it kind of feels like you had a distance car, and then you ended up must be buying that Shaw car. It kind of felt like it kind of gave you a resurgence.
Yeah, kind of just a reset, and sometimes that's what you need.
So looking here, we talked to Ben about a little bit. We talked about Ben and Joey about what their favorite racetrack is. Feels like Thompson it should be pretty high on your list. It seems like you're a real big threat there every time you show up, and that's kind of one of the races where I feel like with that Shaw car, you really ended up picking up the win there in the I guess it was the World Series race, right?
Yeah, I think that was my first one after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Joey was crew chiefing for me, so that was awesome.
So is it Thompson, or what's the racetrack that you see on the schedule and you say, all right, I'm pumped up?
I mean, Thompson is just a different animal in itself. That's where I picked up my first super late model race, and that was with the big motor car. Mm-hmm. So just kind of have like just kind of some sort of attachment to that racetrack just for that reason. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of it. Thompson's definitely one of my favorite. Hickory, I love racing at Beech Ridge and Oxford. I also like it as well. So I kind of like them all, I guess, depending on how the car is going. You know, I hated Star, and I, excuse my language, I won there this year, so.
I'm glad it was you. Ben, what do you think of Thompson?
I love Thompson.
You do?
Yeah, I raced Thompson back when we had all the big engines, and
Yeah.
like he was talking, and I thought it was way better. We had a 200-lap race down there for a few years.
Yep.
Had a national race, had a lot of cars from South and Canada, and it was a good weekend. I wish we'd ever get back to that, but I like it. It's no place to crash, because if you do, it's destroy the race car, and I think that's half of our problem with Pass now is people come from Oxford or Beech Ridge, and there's no walls. And then you get down there and it's fast, and they get timid, and it's no place to be timid, because it jumbles up the field, and then they wreck a lot more cars than we should. But it's fun. I like Thompson with a Pass car, the AT car, anything down there. So.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks that people either just love or hate, it feels like. Joey, I'm going to assume.
Well, honestly, I think I would like Thompson if we all had 600 horsepower.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just not the type where you have to drive it on a nice edge through the corner. That does not interest me. So, like, throttle time. Like,
Yeah.
And that's just it. Thompson, back in the day, you'd fly down the straightaways and roll the corners. Now with crate engines, you go nothing down the straightaway, and you've got to be on the throttle through the corner. So it's a whole different way to drive it. That's why, like I said, I'd rather bring back the 600 horsepower anyway. In any of these, bring the driver back into it. But that's another topic.
So Spencer conveniently skipped over when you won our championship. The 2021 American Canadian Tour Championship. Obviously, anyone that remembers that race, it's probably one of the most legendary races in the history of our tour, with coming down to you and DJ for the championship at Seekonk. I can tell you from my seat, it sucked. But from your seat, it worked out pretty good. We're having to make sure who led the right amount of laps to know who was getting the lap leader points and all that stuff. Talk about that race.
Well, going into that race, I thought whoever was going to win the race was going to win the championship, or finish ahead of who. That's kind of my mentality. So I took off trying to lead every lap. Well, it didn't work. He caught me with 20, 30 to go, and he was actually in the right spot, DJ. I fell back to third or fourth, just kind of, damn, he's going to beat me. Well, then I don't know why, DJ's smarter than this now, but I think he learned a lot from that day, if you ask him. So he turns the leader, and spins him out, so that puts me on the outside of him coming down to a green-white checker. And we were going to be good. Me and DJ's had our issues, and so we took the green, and going off into one, he runs me in the door. And of course, I'm trying to, then down the back stretch, the second time he hit me, it was like, okay, this is how it was going to be. So I just kind of dropped in behind him, and I didn't care. I didn't care about winning the race, to tell you the truth. All I had to do was beat him back to the finish line. So I just went in and kind of moved him out of the way. Well, he moved up. Well, then I knew I couldn't let him behind me. So I kind of kept him on my outside until we get into 3, and then just used him up like he did me the lap before, and ended up winning it.
Yeah, pretty legendary finish. I don't think it was as aggressive as you're making it sound. It was with us.
It
wasn't. No. I'm saying when you got into him, it was more like a.
I just pushed him past his corner.
It was not a Mike Rowe type.
No.
Yeah, that would have been another caution.
That would have been. No. Yeah. I mean, it looked good, didn't it?
It worked out.
But then if you look the following year, I was watching it on TV, and DJ did the same thing that I did. So he did learn.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And he skipped doing this show. Let's be full transparency here, because you were here.
We get along good now. Kind of ever since then.
Yeah, I mean, so let's talk a little bit about the Milton Cat ACT days. At that time, you were racing with Richard Moody. It feels like you'd kind of, on the super late model side, tried some different crew chiefs, different race cars. Things weren't necessarily going the best. You go out in that ACT car, and I think you win the first time that you run it that year, or I guess it was the year before you won the
Following year,
championship,
yeah.
and then you go out and you're just super duper consistent. How important? Not that, I mean, you're one of the greatest to do it, but is there something to just going out and having some success in that car and being like, all right, it's not me, guys. Let's fix the other thing.
Yeah, no, it was, I've always loved running the ACT cars. I dabbled back with it with David Avery when I was running for SDs and had some success. So it was always, you know, I raced against Chris and those guys. Well, then Chris took it over from Curly and built a good tour, you know, and it's fun to go race those deals. So in 2020, COVID hit, and we really wasn't racing. We had nothing to do. So Moody's like, well, let's get an AT car. Mark Brackett had one sitting in his shop for a couple of years. So we just took it and put it together, really nothing to do. And I run it the last race at Oxford and ended up winning. Well, then Moody's like, well, can the schedules align? And luckily, Chris and Tom got together and worked things out for us. For the guys that want to run both and dabble in both, it kind of benefited us. So why not support them, you know? So we run every race that year. And it come down, DJ was probably the best car all year. It's just he had some troubles and put us in a championship race. But I had a lot of fun, and now I'm kind of stepped back from past and doing that. But I got no problem with the ACT. I'd like to go back and run a bunch of those races too and have some fun now.
You did that a couple years ago. You were working with Roland Robinson and running some stuff there. Another thing that it feels like you talked about wanting to win at Thunder Road is New Hampshire Motor Speedway is going to be up on that list too, right?
That's the two, yeah. New Hampshire and Thunder Road I mean, I've been fortunate to win at a lot of tracks, you know, and those are the two that I just can't seem to finish second. I finished second in the Milk Bowl, and I didn't even get a trophy. So and I tell you, that's one
how
of my,
it works,
almost,
man. I'm sorry.
There's no trophy for second in the Milk Bowl. I was so proud to get a trophy, but if you come to my house, there's a milk jug and it says second place in the Milk Bowl. I need my own trophy. But that was it, you know. There was no trophy, and that's how I found that out. But I just never could win at those two. And then, like, Joey shows up, and we go to Thunder Road, and he was winning everything, and I'm like, he's not here. Guess what? He goes out, he gets the granite trophy from Thunder Road. We all wanted.
Then they paved it and ruined it.
Thunder Road is a unique animal, especially back with the old pavement and the no walls.
Way better.
Yeah. But
Cut all that out. You did pretty good at Thunder Road that one time.
the time that I won, or the time that I
No, when you
almost
you
got charged for
flipped that guy
vehicular
out.
manslaughter.
Flip that guy over.
Yeah. I took Ben's advice from about Thunder Road. That might not have been the smartest move, huh? Next time I'm gonna ask Joey.
Exactly.
Now I think, Ben, is it fair to say that you're mostly a driver, right? You're not
Oh, yeah.
necessarily a crew chief, your own crew chief. I feel like, Joey, you've kind of turned into that role, right? I mean, you said you were crew chiefing for Garrett when he won at Thompson. It seems like your program's come a long ways, and it seems like it's a lot with your setup knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes back to we couldn't afford to pay anybody to work on the car, or I mean, I'd have my car go off to Dale Shots at the start of the year, and he'd put a baseline setup in it, and that's what we would do, and we'd work off of that, and a lot of trial and error, keeping notes, trying to just surround yourself with good people as far as to learn more, and always listen, because a lot of times it's better to just listen than talk, and you learn a lot more doing that. So, I mean, not everybody's ideas work, but if you take a little bit from what somebody says here, and you think about it for a minute, maybe how they're applying it won't necessarily work for you, but you could use it in a way to help you. And that's what I've kind of had to do. I just never, I've never had the position to have a crew chief or in an aspect like that. And I feel like it hurts me sometimes, especially when we go to like a new track or like Thompson or Loudon, for example, where it's not so much like there's speed to be gained at those tracks where it's hard to find it in the driver's seat. And I feel like over the last 3 or 4 years, by helping other people, like going with Garrett quite a bit, I've been able to see the car and how it reacts on the track from a different perspective, and I feel like it's improved not only my program, but I've been able to help Garrett and a couple other people I help, like Silas Ripley and those guys. So there's a benefit to not always driving, but I enjoy driving too much to give it up.
So, and I thought that was the case, that you would help Garrett. It feels like Garrett this year was a career year for you, right? I mean, coming out and you know, obviously you have, you know, some knowledge and some help from some guys around you. Was it just that little bit that put you over the top, or what made this year come together for you so well?
Just a lot of, I guess, a lot of it has to do with just so many different aspects of it, you know, just the little things between tire pressures, bleeders, you know, just things that people don't even think about, just that you really got to nail and make sure that it's correct. You know, and that's kind of something that we did this year, just to make sure that all that just adds up and is perfect. You know, so this year was a really good year. You know, I think we could have maybe had a couple extra. Like at Hickory, I was a little too nice. You know, I didn't want to put myself into a position that I, you know, might have bit myself in the ass for, but.
You should put me in the 96 at the Outback.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had an interesting run at Hickory this past year.
Yeah, I led 150 laps. It was great.
Yeah, went out and won the first one. Is the 96 on your Christmas card list? Have you ever talked about it? Have you ever? Is it, if you go down and you race with them again, is that gonna is there an issue, or is it all smooth over?
I mean, it's just racing. I mean, I was mad at the time, but
That's what they do now.
I mean, it's
Look at the big TV. That's what they do every week. So that's what all these kids think they can do now. Basically what it boils down to.
I mean, is that, you've been around this for a long time now, 30 years really at the top level. Is that the biggest thing that you feel like has changed in racing, is the attitudes?
Go watch a go-kart race or anything like that. They just, a Legends race, they run into the back of people and move them out of the way. This is what they see on TV. This is what they're taught. So when they get to the bigger levels, Oxford had a big deal about it this early in the spring, you know. Watching a race, nobody passes anybody no more. They just come up behind and move them out of the way. Well, if I did that when I started, Stan Meserve and Ralph Nason would have me by the throat. You can't do that no more. Nobody can say anything to these kids, and that's half the problem. A lot of equipment's being wrecked, and just because nobody wants to pass. They think it's okay. It is, if that's how they brought up racing, but I know a lot of people, race directors, spend a lot of time, you know, trying to teach it the right way, but their right way and our right way is two different things.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that is constant. But I will also say that I grew up at Oxford in the stands when you were still in the stands. And I remember times when your dad would get into something with somebody and people would throw beer cans at you walking as a kid.
They still do.
As a kid. So, like, what was that environment like? Because we talk about your racing, like, that's fine. But before you started racing, as Mike Rowe's son, being hated for something you didn't even do, what was that like?
Before I even started racing, I had that name on me, you should say.
Right.
You know how many times to this day that I tell people, I'm not my father, I'm not my old man. We're two different people, and it's still to this day. Like I said, he's in that era, in that school that you want to do something, he's going to get out and talk to you about it, where we can't do that no more, you know what I mean? And how many times I try to tell him, you got to calm down, and there's no calming him down.
It was very evident when you first started, even in the compacts, that you were a completely different driver. Where do you think your style came from?
I'm not sure. I like to be raced how I race other people. Respectful. Sometimes it don't always go that way, but I mean, these two here, we've been into it, but never really had an issue. They're respectful. There's some of them that could care less. they could just run over you and then not get out and even say anything, you know what I mean? Not just come down and say, hey, I messed up, or I was running bush cars with Kelly Moore and totally messed up myself and cleaned him out. You know how hard it was for me to walk down to Kelly Moore and tell him that I'm sorry? I thought I was gonna get killed, but that's just stuff that you have to do, and nowadays they could care less. They just walk off and try to make it your fault. There's none of that respect anymore.
So anytime that I get involved into a wreck, I blame it on my spotter, Steve Tapley. And I think we have a question over here in the audience.
Great segue.
I have a question for Ben and Garrett. I remember a race where you two were on top of each other at a start-finish line at the finish. What's your take on both of them?
He ran into me. You want to start, or you want me to?
Well, he was trying to go right, and I was turning left, so.
Which, it was a great race.
Yeah.
He was better, and I think we pitted. I pitted and had a flat or something, and we were coming at the end. And he left the door open, and I got under him, and then I was trying to turn right to slow him down, and he was turning left, and it just caught. And it was really no big deal. We were good about it. It was family and other people, and I ended up in turn one, and I'm like, I'm good. Just leave me here until everybody calms down. And, but no, we talked about it in Victory Lane, you know what I mean? But that's the respect deal that we all have. And like I said, we get into it, but you're gonna get into it. If you're racing and you're racing hard and you're going for the win, you're gonna get into it. I get into it with my own dad. I mean, it's how it works. You just gotta be that person to say, hey, listen, stuff happens, let's go on to the next race.
So over the summer, you watched the races from
It's Oliver
the
Gold.
infield for the first time, watching your car race. What are your thoughts on that, and have you ever given any thoughts to going up to the spotter stand with your spotter to learn from him?
I tried spotting one race, horrible at it. I've been fortunate, everybody knows Taps, but he don't shut up. And when he does shut up, I tell him to keep talking. It's just, I want to know everything that goes on around me. It's just, I went in the infield for a pass race to watch my nephew. I didn't get that side of it. The crew members, and I say this, Joel Tozier, I've been around for years helping Johnny Clark. I was amazed. Every lap that Johnny went by, he cheered for him. And he was excited that Johnny was passing. I don't see any of that. We don't see any of that racing. Just that excitement from those different crews opened my eyes to, man, this is more than just me. It's the crews, the people that work on this car. All of that ties in together. It was pretty neat for me to see that.
All right. I guess that's it for questions for now. We do got one more.
All right, there you go.
Hi, I'm just a spectator and sitting in the grandstands for many, many years. I want to thank all of you for your racing and just all the joy it brings to my family. But I've always wondered in the stands, I'm probably more focused on Ben because I've grown up a huge fan of your dad since I could talk. But I've always wondered, just like when Tommy was racing, your dad was out there and you started racing, like the first time you had to race against your family. As a race car driver, does it affect like your decisions when you're driving? When we're sitting there in the stands, we're always like, oh man, that's his dad, or if we're seeing your dad, we're like, oh, that's his grandson, and we're always just curious, does that affect your frame of mind when you're racing, when you have friends on the track, or your relatives, or are you in race car mode and you don't see that?
Well, friends, we're all friends here, but as soon as we put helmets on, that friend goes away. We're all to win. Family is a little different. My brother was in here earlier. I raced against him when I first started. We were nose to nose. We could care less about each other, and we were, my dad is another story. I had to learn, it took me a little bit to learn this, that he's always right. So when I get around him, I let him in, and we give and take. Come down to 15, 20 laps to go, there's no more give and take. I mean, people sitting here that have watched races, he's turned me through the infield, I've run him off the backstretch. There's no more of that because we have people that help us on our car that he has on his car. It's two separate teams. So we battle each other, you know. During the race, we'll give each other a break, but not when it comes down to a few laps to go. We're all for ourselves, basically. You kind of lose all that mentality, and you want to win for yourself and for the crew, everybody that helps you. It wouldn't be fair to these guys that help me for me just to let him win. You know, that wouldn't be. Those guys work just as hard as his guys.
So you said you would let your dad in, right? You two guys, what's the one person you're letting in? It's coming backwards on the top at Oxford, right? Where everybody wants to be on the bottom. Who's the one guy you're letting in? You have to let somebody in. He's letting his dad in, so you guys have to let somebody in. Who is it? You can't pick each other. That'd be
That'd be lame. Yeah.
Where are we in the race?
15 to go, like he said.
15 to go. He ain't nobody letting anybody in. 50 to go. 50 to
16
go.
to go. Yeah.
Where are we in the pack?
Just
He needs the whole scenario.
yeah. There's one person.
Whoever's going to give it back when I need the
But
opportunity.
who's that person? for you?
DJ.
DJ. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. Garrett doesn't have anybody.
You let me in.
I don't know, maybe a couple. If it's like late in the race, you know, probably want to be behind somebody that's just gonna power through the field.
Okay. Fair.
Right behind him.
That's a calculated answer.
Yeah, so I mean, probably.
So Gabe.
Gabe or Johnny Clark,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I just always wanted to be an odd number. That's all I'm doing. Is
Yeah.
the math in my head.
Counting.
15 years ago, it would have been your father. I would have given up one spot to gain 5.
Man, right this year.
So, yeah, I guess what do we have for current plans? I guess out of all three of you guys here, last year nobody ran a full schedule. Everybody was doing it part-time. Garrett, what are your plans for this year?
Probably just gonna plan on doing the same thing. Probably plan 15 to 20 races. Try to hit all the big ones. You know, definitely go up and support Far Harbor Bank and Trust track up there, Ricky Cravens. Do that a couple times, and then past races, 250, 300. Probably go down to Hickory again. I enjoy that racetrack, so other than that, that's pretty much it.
Same kind of deal. How about you, Joey? You ready to sign up for the full deal again, or?
I don't know. I haven't really talked to Peter. Been busy with the holidays and everything, but I mean, most likely that's probably what we'll do is all the past races, and Gabe's still trying to get me to be a skinny tire driver a couple times, so we'll see. Maybe Lee, because I don't know. White Mountain clearly not my track, so.
Yeah, you're lucky Gabe let you in that consi. It was.
Yeah, well, listen, it was a good financial decision for him to have both cars in the race.
Right. Yeah. I think you post more about skinny tires on Facebook than I do about AI right now.
Well, no, I don't know about that.
Yeah. One question before you get to Ben, real quick. I've always wondered this, and I want to get it out while I have it on top of my mind. You guys have numbers that are. You're the 73, you're the 94, you've always been. What number do you identify with? Like, because when I think of, even your dad, right, he's had so many different numbers. I think of your dad as the 07, because that's how I grew up watching him, but most people probably the 24. You, I would say the 00, but what do you?
Right now it's 5.
I know right now. I know right now. But like, you were the 12, you started as the 12.
Most of my races with 00, right.
Yeah. Then you were the 12 in your first pro stock, too?
Yep. Yeah, I was
First late
12
model.
to begin with. My first very number was 12.
Yeah.
And then
Your
I went
first
to Tom
Charger
Estes.
was 29.
Well, that was 1 year because the guy, I wanted 12,
Yeah.
and they already had it. And that's back when you couldn't have double numbers. So I had to go to 29, which was my niece's birth date. That's how that started. That's why it was pink.
That's true, it was. It was teal and pink.
Yes,
Yeah.
And then Estes had 00. Numbers, I can't see that number on the sides of that car from where I sit, so it don't really I know one guy likes to keep it the whole easy for the fans to recognize, but I don't care what color it is, what number is on there.
So you're not picking a number?
No, the last race I had 8 on there just for a guy in Canada, you know. Billy Clark, I'm a huge fan of Billy, and numbers don't really mean anything to me. Just whatever's on there is on there.
Well, I'm calling you the 00. I'm sorry. That's what
I mean, can I ask the question? What do I call Joey's car number? Is it the 73D? Is it the 73D?
Whatever you want to call it.
But it's awful as an announcer because it's the 7, but there's a little 3 in it. I don't even know.
So, like, it's actually kind of funny. So when the whole deal with Peter came together, one of our friends texted my wife a picture of, I think it was the blue car Peter had, and it had the 7, and she took she just wrote like a little 3 and a D beside the 7, and sent it to my wife, and she's like, oh, look, you should do this. And like, I never said nothing to Peter, and I showed up at the shop after they lettered the car, and he did it. And they had no idea. So it was just kind of funny, and then it stuck with it. And I mean, at one point, I think there were 7 7s in pass. So
yeah.
Now I think there's none, other than maybe me, if you want to consider it the 7.
And yours must be a family number, Garrett? Was your dad 94 as well?
Yeah, he was number 94 as well. But when I first started racing, the Mad Bomber was number 11. I was born December 11th, 1994, so it's just kind of funny how that kind of rolled into it. So maybe I got to start driving a number 12 now, 12, 11, 94. I'm a very superstitious person, so if I got on Joey's car and I won, my car number would be 73.
You don't know anything about superstitions,
Yeah,
do you, Scott?
a little bit.
So, what about you, Ben? You obviously you're doing the family car thing again, number 5. What are your plans for the season? Any big changes on the
my
horizon?
whole plan 3 or 4 years ago when I slowed down was to be Oxford, 5 or 6 races a year, the big race. Dabble in some ACT races. That was my plan. But we did that. Built a new car last year. Jeff Taylor built it, and we only got like 4 races on it. So had an old crew chief come help me the last race. Now that's turned into they want to race more, and then my dad, which was last year was supposed to be his last year, he wants to race more. So I would say I'm going to run more. It's going to be when I want to, the big races, the ones I can go have fun at. You know, hit Bangor and a few in Canada, all the big ones at Oxford. The ones that I want to go to, Loudon maybe. Just go have fun. That's the biggest thing. If I can get 7, 8 guys that want to go have fun and go race and do that, then we'll go.
I love it. I think we got one more in the audience here, or Ken?
Yeah, actually, hi, my name is Ken. I wanted to ask you guys, you talked about who is the friendly fire, who's the guy that you're going to back off and let in when the race is on the line. I'm going to flip the script and say, for each of you guys, who's the guy that pulls up beside you or pulls up in your rearview mirror that you go, okay, here we go. I won't say who's the toughest guy to race, who's the dirtiest driver you race around, but who's the guy that makes you, okay, I got to get up on the wheel and pay attention. Who is it?
Me?
Yeah, all 3 of you. Who's the guy that...
I would say DJ right up until a year or so ago. Like I said, we're always up front. We always race hard together. It didn't matter. I mean, more talking tos and this and that. But he's on it, and he does well. So we finally got into a big head of it and had a big bash. And then ever since then, we've been pretty decent. But it was pretty tough around him for quite a while. And I've had many, trust me.
How about you, Joey?
I wouldn't really necessarily say like as far as like dirty, but like the person if they come up behind you that you have to be on your game the most is Johnny. Because I feel like Johnny's very good at, if you give him 6 centimeters, he's gonna make it get in there into the hole, and I feel like I'm kind of the same way. So I it's a fun battle, but sometimes you don't want to have to work that hard.
So you, Garrett.
So I definitely got to say anybody that has a Norm's Used Cars sponsorship on their car. Yep, that's for sure. But there's definitely a lot of drivers out there that will, you got to get on the wheel a little bit, drive a little harder. For me, it's probably, I don't know, I feel like me and Gabe kind of had a little bit of feud, but it's kind of resolved, but I still always want to try to beat him. So definitely try to drive my car harder whenever I'm around him.
Kind of a question I have just as a fan too. You kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. I want to know from each one of you. I feel like every time that we talk racing, we always talk about, that's the one I should have won. That's the one, the one race that you feel like you had or you could have had, and it slipped away. What would that race be for you, Gary?
The 2018 250.
2018 250.
There's a lot of them, but I'm sure every other racer has them too. So.
But tell us about it. What happened?
Like, that was our first year really kind of doing things on ourselves. We had a Taylor car. Struggled pretty much the whole year. The weekend before that, we were at Riverside. I think that was like the best race we had that year. We finished third. Brought the car up to Jeff Taylor. He went completely through the car. First practice out of that Friday, we were like the fastest car in the car. It was like so loose, I couldn't even drive it. Like, what the hell, like this isn't gonna work out. So we just kind of worked on it, we tinkered on it. And we had like a really fun weekend all around. We had no expectations, just was one of those weekends. And we hit it and the car was really fast. And I led like 160 something laps and just pitted too late. The car was a little bit too tight. So overall, we still finished fourth. I think that's my highest finish on the 250, but that's just the one that really stings the most, because we had a really, really dominant car.
What about you, Joey?
Probably the 250 2 years ago, the year it rained.
Yeah.
Just our car was so good at Oxford that year, and we started, I think, second, took the lead on like lap 5, and I just was kind of had the feel. I was playing with my food pretty much, and just kind of keeping people 4 or 5 back. Let a couple guys like charge up to try to see what they had, and then they pull back away, and then just kind of waiting for the pit stop, and it rained, and just the track, it was like a light switch. Like, my car was probably the best it's ever been at Oxford, and after the rain, it was okay, but the track was still pretty damp, so it was kind of hard. Like, we pitted pretty early, and as soon as we took the tires, I knew we were in trouble because we didn't make a change, and I thought that when the track would dry back out, we'd be okay, but we definitely needed to make some adjustments on the pit stop for the track, and we just never did, and away it goes.
Jeff Taylor was very happy for rain that day.
Yeah, I think while it was raining, he took my car, swapped it in line.
So we talked about an Oxford 250 where you almost had it. But other than that, what would be your moment that you go back to where you had it, one little thing different, and it all fell apart for you?
The one that I had no control of that would be the 660 race, the 250 at 660. Mm-hmm. I was racing for Mike Murphy and Hal O'Neill, and Hal stepped out of the car, and they were just a good bunch of guys that me and Taps met at a racetrack to go race their car. So I went up there, and no pressure, no nothing. We just having a great time, and it was fast. And we drove from the back to the front like 3 times. And I caught the leader with 20 to go, and it was way faster. We had way better tires, and he was up, so I drove under him down the front stretch, and he come down to pinch me, which that's what he's supposed to do, and we just barely touched, and then he went up, and I went by. Well, yellow comes out, and then they got a rule that if the 2 leaders touch in any way, both of you go to the back. And they put me to the rear. There's only like 12 to go. I mean, by far, we had the best car there, and I wanted to win for that group of guys so bad that was probably the one that stung. Had I known, I didn't even know about that rule, but had I known, I could have just let him go and then waited. You know what I mean? I had plenty of time, and Taps was screaming at me on the radio, and it wasn't even like I run into him. It was just kind of, we hit side to side, and he never really spun out. He just went up and stopped. And that was the one that every year I try to go back with his car, and we were second, third, second. that was the one time that, and I say to this day, that was, we lost some guys that were part of that crew that have passed now, and I'm never going to get that back. But that was my one opportunity that the driver just numbed it, I guess.
Wow, that's a weird rule.
Yeah. It's usually if the leader spins,
right.
But now it's a contact rule, I guess. And where we made contact, that was the...
Still racing with fenders, right?
Right. Oh,
That was,
yeah, I've seen it.
That guy today is probably saying how kids don't race with respect. Talking about you.
Well, then it was like 2 years later, me and Travis Benjamin were racing side by side for the win. And I was so scared to get near him. Way better car than he had, pitted late, should have beat him. Had it been any other racetrack, I would have just rubbed him. But I was so scared to move him out of the way, he beat me by a foot. And it cost me 30 grand. And I'm like, just because of that one rule, I was scared to death. But there's been other times that I've had people right up on the hood before and was going into the dirt bank and taps are screaming at me. And there's been some times, but that race was the one I like to have back.
Yep.
So you said you made your own Milk Bowl trophy, and
Yep.
what trophy, if you have to have one in the middle of your living room, what's the one trophy that you're going to pick?
The 250 trophy.
The first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just because, the second one's cool because my name's on that one too. They put all the names on it. I was talking about that earlier with people out here. That trophy means more than the money did. It's just everybody that won that in the last, before me, it was names was on that trophy. Something like that was cool. We don't, it's not the money, the trophies we want, you know what I mean? But that one would be, I got a couple Eagles and stuff like that are pretty cool, but that one trophy would be the 250.
What about you, Joey? What's your
My
most
piece
prized?
of granite from Thunder Road. That one's easy.
Rub it in.
And you?
Like personally, or?
Yeah, like what means the most to you?
I would say the icebreaker win. Chunk of ice.
Yeah. Chunk of ice. Hasn't melted yet.
No, plastic. It's all right.
Now, I assume that if you get an Oxford 250 trophy, no matter what shape or size it comes in, that's probably the one that would take the place, though, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely was going to say his trophy because that granite one's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I guess, now would kind of be a good time to just talk about some of the people that have gotten you to this point, right? So start down with Garrett. Who's gotten you through? Obviously, you can't thank necessarily every person that's ever
Or you can.
But, yeah, who got you to this point? Who are some of the people that have helped you out? And who makes your program important today?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. Today would be my father and Norm, obviously, and Dale Shaw race cars help out a lot and make me faster than, I would be without him. So, and Joey helps out tremendously as well. His knowledge is very helpful and very appreciative. And then, going back when I first started out, was just being around the racing with, Craig Smith, Trent Smith, meant the world. Just going to the races with them, helping them out, with the limiteds. And then Robbie Harrison helped me out a lot, probably from like 2012 to 2016, 2017. That really keyed my success. And then Jeff Taylor as well during that time. There's so many people that help out that you forget, unfortunately.
No, that's it. As a driver, you get to be the face of it all, but like you guys talked about earlier, there's a lot of people behind you that make all of it run.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I just realized this past year was something that's really awesome. That's a great feeling. Is just going to the racetrack with all your buddies. You're there to race. You're there to win. Nothing else in the world at that moment matters besides just you going to the racetrack with your buddies and having a good day, fun day. And hopefully at the end of the day, everybody's cheerful, having beers at the garage. And that's what it's all about. That's what makes it so much fun.
Absolutely. Joey, how about you?
Obviously, my parents, I couldn't have done it without them. My dad, my mom, they sacrificed countless hours, thousands of dollars and everything. My family, my wife, my kids, they love going to the races, which makes it a lot easier on me. And then everybody that's, over time that's come and helped us, the Myers family, Mikey B.A., and then obviously Wright Pearson, Greg Curtis for giving me the chance to drive somebody else's cars at the start. And then now obviously Peter Pettit. I can't say enough about Peter. He's hands down, whatever I feel like we need, he is more than willing to get. And sometimes I think he thinks that we need stuff that, like, I feel like I'm not, I feel like he thinks that I'm not asking for enough. And I just try to treat it as if it was our family team. I just try to get what we need, and he never says no. And obviously, Norm's Used Cars, he's a huge supporter of mine and Garrett's, and he came on 4 or 5 years ago, and definitely couldn't do it without his support. And then one of my most loyal crew members now, Dennis, he lives in Quebec, on the other side of the Quebec City, across the bridge, and he hasn't missed a race in 3 years. So he puts a lot of miles on his Mazda motel, he says. So he's just a great guy, does the tires, and definitely couldn't do it without his dedication and everybody else.
Very cool. Ben?
It takes a lot of people that love racing as much as you do to get involved, to even pay for any of this, so it's expensive. But my dad kind of got me started with this, and I was fortunate enough to drive for Tom Estes. He spent a lot of money, a lot of time owning that team, and then from there I went to Rick Moody, and I was there forever. Rick loves racing, loves the sport, not with just me, with other drivers, gives you whatever you need. Those people are few and far between, like I said, we traveled up and down the East Coast, and it just got to the point where I didn't want to travel all over every weekend anymore. I did it since I was 15, so we parted ways, but still great friends. I still think of him as like a second dad to me, that's how close we were. But and now just back with my dad and Jeff Taylor and distance racing where I started, kind of all come full circle and having fun doing it. That's my deal now, is just let's go, let's have fun, and let's win some races. Johnny's caught me, so I got to win a few more.
Wow. So he's actually, he caught you. The one thing that's separating you, so that you've got the most past wins of all time, is one past modified race. I wanted to make sure that I brought that up. I think that's kind of a cool thing. So
no, I mean that win deal, it's pretty neat that I'm fortunate enough to win that many races, and Johnny, but you can ask Johnny. I was probably the first one to text him that day when he won just as many. I don't care. I mean, Johnny's put his time in. He's good at what he does. His whole crew's good at what they do. I mean, you can't fault anybody for catching you or beating a record or whatever it is. It's pretty neat, and Joey's going to be there. He keeps racing. He's going to win a lot more than both of us, so it don't matter.
So this is the Maine Vintage Race Car Association, right? When we're sitting here 30 years from now, what do you want them to remember about Ben Rowe?
That I was fair, probably. I raced people the way they raced me. Sometimes it wasn't all good, because you get into them, but that's about all. I've been horrible in a lot of these races. I won a lot, but I've been horrible too. And I've waved a lot of people by, and just to have that respect come back around. And I see it now, because now we're on the upside of that, where we're running good again. And you see some of that respect probably means more to me than winning some races, you know what I mean? Like I said, these guys here that you're going to get into it with, but when that turns around, and Joey, I chopped him off probably 20 times in one race and knew he was there, and he lifted, you know what I mean? It's just, and I know that. So when it's reversed, obviously that I'll do the same thing for him. It's just it's a respect thing, and when you get that far, as I am, that people start to respect you back means quite a bit. Absolutely.
Joey? But it might be, if you race as long as like Mike does, we might be talking 50 years from now, I guess, by the time we're sitting here talking about at the Maine Vintage Race Car Association. But when you're all done, what are they going to say about Joey DeWiron?
I guess I kind of echo what Ben said about being fair. Race people how you want to be raced. But I guess for myself, that, you know, just because you don't have the perfect situation around you, hard work can, as long as you don't give up and you keep working hard, eventually you're going to get the results you're looking for. But you can't expect them to just be handed to you. And I feel like it's more satisfying when you learn them that way. Garrett,
what are they saying about you? And I don't know, you're the youngest one here, so maybe 40 years for you, right?
Yeah. I don't know, I'm catching up to Ben now. I don't know, that's a really tough question, I guess. You know, it really kind of depends on the situation and everything, but you just want to be respected. You want to be well liked by everybody. You know, when everybody talks about you, whether you're at a coffee shop, having breakfast, you know, or getting some beer somewhere, you know, you always just want to have a good reputation. You know, that's what I want to be known by.
I think it's interesting that, you know, Garrett, I feel like, is maybe the most tame, right? He's kind of quiet. And he's been pretty talkative tonight, and he's talked about beers twice, and he's the only one that sweared tonight. I think your whole good guy motif is going the other way here.
He's actually done it twice.
No,
Yeah, I'm just coming off a cold, so
a little off your game. I love it.
Do we have any other questions before we wrap things up? Raise your hand. We'd love to have you give your input. We appreciate the folks that have asked questions, but if you got one more, now's the time to ask. In the meantime, you think about that. I'm going to give you two guys a chance to give a quick plug of your program, because you guys put a lot into this sport, not only from your day job as far as Spencer is a racer and Scott is a race director, but you guys give to the sport as well by the In the Pits podcast. So give a little shout out for them.
Scott hates talking about himself. In the Pits has been going on for 20-something years now. John Williams is a great broadcaster. I think Ken got his start working with John, right?
He hired me for my first job in radio 40 years ago, and he actually married me and my wife.
See, so, you know, John's just a great guy, and he's run the Oxford Hills Chamber and all that. Anyway, not to go on about John, I could talk about him for an hour. He's created this race show, and he's had guests like Bill Ryan and a host of different people. And Scott was their most annoying caller for years. And so they finally gave him a microphone, let him be on the show. And then I just showed up one day and then never left. We talk about everything from F1 and NASCAR to, you know, Pro All-Star Series, ACT, and right down to local short track stuff as well. We've got Jackson Schultz, who's the announcer for Oxford Plains Speedway with Kevin Varney. He joins us on Mondays. And we also have Mark LaBelle, who's a big race fan from down in Massachusetts, that joins us on Fridays. So the show airs twice a week. We record Mondays at 6 o'clock and Fridays at 9. You can get all of that on williamsbroadcasting.net.
That's correct.
and also wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. The Friday show is also on the terrestrial radio, 96.3, The Big Jab, the Bennett Radio Group, a bunch of different places. So we have a good time. Essentially what we do is we sit down and have a conversation like this, and Scott complains about something, and I complain a little bit worse, and
you
we
have
a
terrible
really good time.
takes. Yeah, you have terrible takes, and we argue about them. So that's basically what it is. And yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to do this, and we try to have fun doing it. So Spencer's very good at this. That's why we gave him the lead role at it, and I'm proud to have him a part of this deal. So.
All right, well, be sure to check that out. And I want to take a final time to thank our panel today. Thank you to Garrett Hall. Thank you to Joey Dwyron. Thank you to Ben Rowe. Once again, thank you to Scott Tapley and Spencer Morse. A big thank you to our participating sponsor today, Riverside Speedway. As I said, their booth is over in the middle aisle here at the Expo. Be sure to stop by and check out their schedule, pick one up. Thank them for supporting this program. If you do want to find past episodes of the Vintage Racers Roundtable, just go to our website, mainvintagerace.org. We have a booth over in the center aisle as well. There you can find more information on MVRCA and our mission to help preserve and present the history of motorsports in the state of Maine. It's through your membership and financial support that helps us to fulfill that mission, whether it's putting on this program, doing the Maine Mobile Museum, putting on the Maine Vintage, the Maine Motorsports Hall of Fame banquet, which I'm quite sure you'll see all three of these guys in at some point in their career. So we really appreciate it. So for our show producer, Haven Simmons, and the rest of the crew here from LCTV, thank you to you guys as well. Hope you've enjoyed the program, and we'll see you next time on the Vintage Racers Roundtable. Thank you.